Soft diner ambience, clinking plates, low chatter, and old jukebox hums. The coffee pot slipped from her trembling hands. It hit the checkered tile with a sharp crack, scattering brown liquid across her white apron like a spreading bruise. But it wasn't the burn that made her flinch. It was the laughter. Three young men in the corner booth, all designer jackets, shiny watches, and smug faces, burst into cruel, echoing laughter that cut through the diner like broken glass. The oldest, maybe 21, leaned back in his seat and smirked. His name was Bryce Weller, son of a real estate mogul who owned half of Brooksville. To Bryce, waitresses weren't people. They were props in the background of his comfortable world. He picked up his coffee cup, swirled it, then spat right onto her apron. The diner went silent. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Even the jukebox seemed to stop mid-song. The woman just stood there, 69 years old, coffee dripping down her apron. Her eyes flickered with humiliation and something deeper, years of quiet endurance breaking. Drop by drop, her name was Martha Green. And this was supposed to be just another ordinary morning. Every day at 6 a.m., Martha walked 5 blocks from her small rented room to Earl's Diner, a place that smelled of bacon grease, brewed coffee, and fading dreams. She'd been serving here for 22 years. A widow, a survivor. She'd lost her husband, Frank, to cancer 15 years ago, raised her only son, Danny, working double shifts, until Danny moved 2 states away, chasing work in a factory. She never complained. She just smiled, tucked the pencil behind her ear, and poured coffee for people who rarely looked her in the eye. But that morning, something in her chest trembled. Maybe it was age catching up. Maybe it was the empty seat at her own kitchen table. Or maybe it was simply that kindness, no matter how strong, grows tired when the world keeps trampling it. She'd just finished refilling table 4 when Bryce and his friend swaggered in, loud enough to drown out the bell above the door. 3 iced lattes, Bryce had said, flipping through his phone without looking at her. Sorry, sweetheart, we don't do iced lattes, Martha had replied politely. But I can bring you fresh coffee on the house. The regulars love it. That's when he'd snorted. On the house. Lady, I am the house. 10 minutes later, the scene exploded. Martha, already flustered, tripped slightly when a kid darted past her table. The pot slipped, splattering a few drops onto Bryce's designer shoes. His head snapped up. What the? You ruined my Gucci's. It was an accident, sir, she whispered, grabbing napkins. I'll clean it right. Don't touch me. He barked, standing so fast his chair screeched. His friends pulled out their phones, sensing content. One chuckled. Yo, Bryce, live stream it. When peasants serve royalty. The laughter spread, mean and infectious, and then Bryce spat, a wet splatter across her apron. There, now we're even. Martha froze. The diner's hum collapsed into silence. A truck horn wailed faintly outside, but inside, time held its breath. Her throat worked, but no words came. For a second, she almost smiled, that polite, automatic smile she'd worn for decades, but it crumbled. She turned away, reaching for the towel dispenser, her hands shaking. From the corner booth by the door, 4 men watched. Leather vests, iron patches, one read, Hell's Angels, Brooksville chapter. The biggest of them, a man built like a steel door, set down his fork. His name was Rex Dalton, ex-Marine, road tough, gray streak in his beard. His eyes didn't blink. Bryce smirked, tapping record. Smile, Grandma. You're gonna be famous. Martha's lips trembled. She looked around. Every face in the diner had lowered, pretending not to see. Even the cook froze behind the grill. Helpless, she whispered, I'm sorry, sir. For what? For being clumsy? For being poor? Bryce sneered. You people are all the same. Can't even serve coffee without, eh? Heavy thud interrupted him. The sound of boots hitting the tile. The bikers stood up. The diner's bell jingled faintly as the door closed, but no one had come in. Just the sound of 4 pairs of boots crossing the tile. Slow, steady, deliberate. Bryce turned, his smirk flickering. The air felt heavier. The laughter from his friends died out mid-breath. The man in front, Rex, walked with calm authority. Broad shoulders, sun-browned skin, tattoos creeping from beneath his sleeves like old stories written in ink. He didn't need to raise his voice. His silence spoke enough that he stopped beside Martha, who was still trying to wipe the coffee from the floor. Ma'am, he said quietly. His voice was low, rough, respectful. You okay? Martha blinked up at him, startled. I'm fine, dear. Please don't. Rex turned his head toward Bryce. Was that you? Bryce scoffed, but his confidence was already cracking. What's it to you, old man? The other bikers spread slightly behind Rex, not threatening, just present, like a wall that wouldn't move that Rex's eyes didn't leave Bryce. You think it's funny to spit on someone who's working to make a living? Bryce let out a nervous chuckle. It was a joke. You bikers should relax. Rex leaned forward, his hands resting on the booth table. That woman's been serving this town longer than you've been alive. You owe her respect and an apology. The diner was silent again, everyone pretending not to watch while watching everything. Bryce tried to keep his voice steady. You can't tell me what to do. Rex straightened slowly. You're right, he said. I can't. But I can tell you this. Where I come from, respect isn't optional. He looked at the coffee pot lying shattered on the floor, then back at Bryce. Pick it up. Bryce blinked. You serious? Rex's tone didn't change. Dead serious. His friends fidgeted, their laughter long gone. One of them whispered, Just do it, bro. Bryce's face turned red. I'm not cleaning that up. She spilled it. Martha stepped forward, desperate to stop it. Please, it's okay. Really? Rex held up a hand gently. Ma'am, you've done enough cleaning in this world. Then to Bryce. You made the mess. You clean it. The silence felt like gravity. Bryce stared at the floor, at his own reflection rippling in the spilled coffee. His throat tightened. His hands trembled. Rex didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't threaten. He just waited. Finally, Bryce reached for a rag from the counter. His friends didn't move to help. The entire diner watched as the rich boy bent down, his expensive sneakers sinking into the puddle. Each slow wipe of the cloth stripped a little more arrogance away. The cameras were off now. No one was laughing. When he finished, he stood there, eyes down, breathing uneven. I'm sorry, he whispered. Rex nodded once. Say it to her. Bryce turned toward Martha. Her eyes were soft, tired, still kind. I'm sorry, ma'am, he said again, his voice breaking this time. I shouldn't have. I was stupid. Martha placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. Thank you, son, she said gently. We all do foolish things sometimes. It's what we learn after that matters. For a moment, the diner felt lighter, like the air itself exhaled. Rex reached over, picked up the empty coffee pot, and set it gently on the counter. He looked at Martha. You've been serving people your whole life, ma'am, he said quietly. You shouldn't have to serve their cruelty, too. Martha smiled faintly. Kindness isn't something I give because people earn it, she replied. It's just who I am. Rex smiled back, a rare thing for a man like him. Then he turned to Bryce. You got a name, kid? Bryce, he muttered. Well, Bryce, Rex said, sliding a napkin across the table. Write that apology down. Because one day, you'll want to remember it. Bryce hesitated, then scribbled a few shaky words. When he finished, Rex glanced at it, then tucked it under Martha's tip jar. Lessons paid. Rex said he tipped his head to Martha. Ma'am. And with that, the bikers walked out, their boots echoing like thunder fading down a long, quiet road. The diner slowly came back to life. The clink of forks, the murmur of whispered talk. But Bryce didn't sit back down. He stood there for a long time, staring at the note he'd written, at the reflection of his face in the shiny counter. It wasn't the face of the man he wanted to be. His friends mumbled excuses and slipped out the door, one by one. When the last one left, Bryce turned to Martha. I really am sorry, he said again. If there's anything I can do. She shook her head softly. Just be better, dear. That's enough. He nodded slowly, eyes damp. Then he reached into his wallet, pulled out a thick stack of cash, and placed it on the counter. For the mess, he said. And for what you've been through. Martha pushed it back gently. Money can't clean what pride dirties, she said. Only kindness can. Bryce froze. And for the first time in his life, he understood exactly what she meant. He left the diner quietly, without another word. Outside, the sun had broken through the clouds, spilling light across the chrome motorcycles lined up by the curb. Rex leaned against one of them, arms folded. He looked up as Bryce walked past. Bryce stopped. Their eyes met. Rex exhaled smoke from his cigarette. Learned something today? Bryce nodded. Yeah, I did. Rex gave a small nod. Good. Don't forget it. Bryce turned and walked away. For once, he wasn't checking his phone. Weeks passed. Autumn had started to paint the small town in gold and rust. The diner looked the same from the outside. Same chipped window frame. Same neon, open sign flickering. But inside, something had changed. Martha's smile seemed a little brighter these days. Maybe because she'd finally decided to hang up a picture behind the counter. A photograph one of the regulars had taken. It showed her laughing with a group of bikers the morning after the incident. They'd stopped by again, not for justice this time, but for breakfast. Every weekend since, they came in for her pancakes and coffee, never once letting her lift a heavy plate. One slow afternoon. The bell over the door jingled again. Martha looked up and froze. It was him. Bryce and O camera crew. No friends. Just him. Hair trimmed short, sweatshirt instead of designer jacket, and a small bouquet of daisies in his hand. That he walked up to the counter quietly. "Hi," he said, his voice gentle. Martha smiled cautiously. "Hello, dear. What brings you here?" He placed the flowers on the counter. An apology. And maybe a job application. Martha blinked, taken aback. "A job?" "Yeah," he said, scratching his neck. "I need to start somewhere. And I want to learn how to serve people the right way." There was silence. Only the ticking clock above the pie case. Then Martha smiled. A slow, proud smile. "Well," she said softly, "we can always use another pair of hands around here. Sometimes, the hardest work you'll ever do isn't with your hands. It's with your heart." A few months later, Martha decided to retire. The town threw her a surprise party right there in the diner. The bell above the door jingled all day as customers came in. Teachers, farmers, bikers, and even the mayor. Each one bringing flowers or notes of thanks. When it was time for speeches, Bryce stood up, his hands trembling slightly as he held a folded piece of paper. He looked at Martha and smiled. "Miss Martha," he began, "you once told me money can't clean what pride dirties. You were right. But kindness, your kindness, cleaned more than my mess that day. It cleaned me." Martha's eyes welled up. Bryce took a shaky breath. "I came here as a spoiled kid. You showed me what respect looks like. You didn't just forgive me. You believed I could be better. And because of that, I am." The room broke into applause. Even Rex, leaning on the jukebox, clapped once and gave a firm nod. In a world where everyone's trying to look powerful, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is kneel down, say "I'm sorry," and mean it. Fade in. Bryce now running the diner, serving coffee to the bikers, smiling. A framed photo on the wall shows him and Martha side by side, arms around each other. On the bottom of the frame, handwritten in marker, "Respect is the real riches." If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll, like, subscribe, and share the whispers of reality. Someone out there needs to be reminded that kindness isn't weakness, it's strength. And who knows, your share might just be the moment someone decides to change.